I've never had a near-death experience, but I did go whitewater rafting once in the Box River Canyon in Taos, New Mexico. I thought, wow, this is gonna be great, like tubing down the river on a summer day. And it did kind of start out that way until all of a sudden that all changed when we entered into the rapids. My paddle was out of the water more often than it was in the water as we bounced from boulder to boulder. At a certain point, I was sucked out of the raft and found myself under the raft traveling with my back along the riverbed and the raft on top of me. Suddenly, everything was very calm and I was completely relaxed. I didn't seem concerned about breathing or not breathing, as I just enjoyed traveling for a while in the space between the raft on top of me and the riverbed under me. Next thing I knew, I was being pulled back into the raft and the paddle was put back in my hand, and everyone started screaming at me to keep on paddling. When we finally got through all the rapids and pulled off to a rest site, I was exhausted and starving. I ate everything they had for us, a couple peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, a few bean tacos, and tons of chips and hot salsa. On the way home in the van with all the other rafters, I passed out into a deep sleep and started farting uncontrollably. I've never had a near death experience, but everyone in that van that day, well, they did. They had a near death experience. Welcome. Welcome to Illinois Bridging Awareness. I'm Stanley Smith. At Illinois Bridging Awareness, we're all looking through our own personal filter of perception. We all have our own small circle of knowledge and facts. And beyond that, we have a slightly larger circle of beliefs. Whenever we encounter something beyond our circle of knowing and believing, we have the opportunity of learning and growth, or for anger and attack. Bill O'Reilly said this week that we don't need to listen to the right wing nut jobs or the conspiracy people because we have enough fact to discern exactly what's going on. At last week's assembly meeting, Bill Hermanson said we can all see the physical and mental damage of what's been going on. At the same time, we can look at all that God has provided and see that the infinite good is much greater than the perceived darkness during this time. In scary films, the evil is often portrayed as feeding on our inner doubts and fears. It's a manifestation of our shadow selves. Bill Hermanson said that evil can be seen as being indifferent to God because it's much more interested in getting us for maximum effect than it is for getting all it can for itself. That's why it's never quite satisfied. Evil only wants what it can't have. We've all been guaranteed an inheritance through God's grace. And because of this, we extend that grace to others, not because they're worthy, but because it's not our place to do otherwise. It's not our place to condemn. Intuitively, we all want a force greater than ourselves to step in and right this ship. But this is the place that only God can step into. It's not for us to fill with an egregor of our own creation. An egregor is the precursor to the story of Frankenstein. We create a monster to fight the monster of our own craziness. Instead, God offers us the opportunity to learn and grow. I attended a lecture at the University of Chicago a couple of years ago on phenomenology. Phenomenology is the study of the phenomenon of phenomenons. They said that all of social development starts as fringe thought. It's a way of expanding on what we know, adding some pieces to the puzzle of our awareness. We all have our own limited bandwidth of perception, both conceptually and in what we perceive to experience. We can only conceptualize so much, and then we can only reconcile so much of what that perception is with our experience. It's like we are all working on a giant puzzle together, without knowing what the picture is supposed to be. We're trying to figure it out with the looking at one piece at a time and how they all fit together. And we do that by each of us sharing our story. Some people are looking for proof and documentation about what is true, but listening to people's stories is the best documentation and proof available. A couple of weeks ago, we watched the video of Norma Edwards about her near-death experience and the important message she was sent back to give us. The important message is that there's more to life than this. I reached out to Norma, and she's going to be joining us on this week's Saturday Call to share more of her story with us. Edgar Casey says the most important thing we can do is to brighten someone's day. Norma is a lovely person, and I believe spending time with her will brighten your day. If we pray for channels to be presented to us, God will provide them. And if we pray for our rest to be multiplied, it will be multiplied. Norma said we can't be paid twice for doing something. If we've worked for something in this life and attained it, well, then we've been compensated. If we provide an encouraging word, offer someone a smile, and show up in a crisis, well, then we've participated in God's free economy of love and kindness, which has its compensation always on the fringe all around us. None of us want to offend. We're all afraid to reveal ourselves or share ourselves fully because we're afraid we'll be rejected. God knows us fully, and he believes in us fully, and he's not offended. I've not had a near-death experience, but I have offended. Was it an opening for sharing myself, or was it a near-death experience? Perhaps it was both of those. Wherever you are on your journey today, individually and together, don't freak out. When the shit hits the fan, you can roll down the window, pull over to the side of the road, and get some fresh air. When a near-death experience turns into a near-life experience, we can all experience sharing and hearing your message, so we can all experience growing, learning, and sharing together. If you'd like to join us at the Saturday Illinois Bridging Awareness Call, the Saturday Call is every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time on Zoom. I will include my email in the description of this video. I'll be happy to send you an invitation, and I look forward to seeing you very, very soon.